You're watching Through the Looking Glass with Dr. Ginny Klein.
It's about our feelings, fears, and fantasies, our pain and our pleasure, our problems and our solutions. It's a time for us to get together, talk things over, think things over, and find out that we are not alone. Perhaps then we can all help each other make this world and our lives just a little bit better. Did you ever look around your house and just hate all the clutter, but you don't do anything about it? Let's take a closer look at just that issue. Hi, Beatrice, how are you?
I'm drowning in stuff.
Stuff? Physical stuff or mental stuff?
Both.
Oh.
Both. That's why I called you, because my husband told me that he saw this program on the TV about hoarding, and he thinks I'm a hoarder.
Uh-huh.
And that is not so.
Okay.
I have a problem with I have a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
And I have a problem with organizing them. I mean, I can organize some things, but then it gets out of hand.
You mean you have too many things?
I have too many things, but I'm not a collector. You know, I don't go to the store to buy a lot of stuff. I don't...
Well, over the years, have you collected stuff and then you don't know what to do with it?
Well, I think I don't collect per se.
No.
But
it just...
like I have a subscription to a magazine.
Uh-huh.
And I keep the magazines.
All of them?
Well, I just have one subscription, and I keep it because it's a good magazine, and if I want to refer to it, and...
Do you?
No.
Oh. Do you hate the pile that you've collected?
Well, I didn't hate the pile so much. My husband hates the pile.
Oh, I see.
And he gives me a hard time.
He doesn't like the clutter.
No.
Do you?
I'm better at it than he is.
Better at what?
Better at coping with the clutter.
How do you cope with it?
Well, I can find things. If you take my guest room, I have a lot of things in my guest room. And the reason why I have a lot of things in the guest room, you know, because of various hurricanes and people dying, and, you know, I accumulate some of their stuff, and then I don't know where to put it, so I put it in the guest room.
Why do you keep it?
Well, when my aunt died, I had some things from her, some papers.
Why do you use these things?
Her papers, no, but...
Why are you... How do you feel if you threw something out? How would you feel?
Well...
Would that cause anxiety in you?
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
And I've tried to figure this out. And I've watched things on hoarding too. And I see... I don't relate to what they're talking about.
Okay. Forget about hoarding.
Right.
Do you ever...
But that was making me feel bad about myself, because my husband was really telling me, you know, look at this.
The clutter.
Look at this, you're just like that. And here on TV, they had animals that were, you know, messing up the house. That's not who I am.
Okay.
That's not what's going on.
Do you have a lot of things in your guest room that makes it very cluttered?
Yes.
Okay.
Like if someone came over, they could not use my guest room.
Okay.
Which, you know what, now that I'm thinking of, maybe that's why I have everything in my guest room, because I don't want any guests. Maybe that's it.
Well,
I don't know.
That's really, if you found the real answer, you would feel, you'd struggle with it. But sometimes the answer isn't about now.
Okay, I'll give you an example. I have an office, and my office is neat.
Yeah.
And I have papers, and I have files.
Yeah.
And I'm always thinking to myself, I really want to redo these files.
Redo them or toss some out?
Well, I don't like to toss files out because I think they're important.
Excuse me. Do you think every piece of paper you have is important?
No.
Or you just don't want to throw anything out? Do you get scared about throwing things out?
I don't get scared so much of throwing them out as I become
you shouldn't.
very anxious about
Anxious.
making decisions about throwing them out.
Okay, good.
So
you get anxious about making decisions about throwing them out.
Right. So this is what happens to me. I'll be in my office and I'll get this idea. I want to redo my files. I want them very neat. I want them all...
Wants are good.
All to be... I want them very neat. I want them all the same.
But what shouldn't you do?
Well, I decide that this is what I'm going to do. And I get all the same color folders, and I'm going to have them all neat. And then I start doing it, and then I'll get up to go to the ladies' room, and then I'll come back, and I'll see something else that needs to be done.
So you avoid throwing out the things you don't need to reduce the amount of paper you have.
Because what happens is...
Because you get anxious.
I have to sit down and make a decision. Should I throw this out? Is this useful? Is this not useful?
Do you make that decision?
No, because I find that I have so many things.
Okay, this is not about the things. This is about a fear of throwing out. Where and when in your lifetime, go back to your childhood, did you ever see a consequence, a terrible thing when someone threw something out? Think back to your mother and your father. You don't have any memory of that?
No.
Oh, so that your father and mother threw things out and had a very neat and uncluttered home? You're having a problem with this.
Well, growing up, I remember...
Yeah?
My father didn't have much to do with the house. You know,
Yeah, but did he have an objection to throwing things out, like magazines?
No, it was my mom who... The drawers in the house and the closets were always packed.
Who couldn't throw it out? Who got angry if someone threw it out? Did anyone get angry?
I think my mother did.
Oh. And your mother, do you remember a particular thing? You see, do you see what you're doing with your hands? You're nervous.
Yeah.
In thinking about this. And when you see files and you go out and you have this wonderful plan with the color coded and you come in but you can't throw it out, do you know what that reminds you of? The idea when you get close to wanting to throw it out and you can't? Do you know what happens in your mind?
Mm-mm.
No time in your mind. It goes right back to your mother's getting. How did she get? What did you throw out or your father throw out your mother got hysterical about?
I don't remember anything we threw out. I just remember...
What? What? Go back.
Her telling me, don't touch it.
Don't touch it. So you have the plan for the colored folders and everything, but when it comes to touching it, you don't touch it. And it stays there in the guest room or in your office.
But that's... You know,
don't touch it. And how did she say that? Could you
she screamed.
Let me hear.
Leave that alone. Don't touch that.
How did you feel? Like you're a criminal?
Like, oh my God, I shouldn't have touched it. Like, what?
And what did you want to do with the files?
All I wanted to do was make them...
What shouldn't you do? Throw it out. Don't touch that. Don't touch that. Mother's very disapproving when you want to touch something and throw it out.
But even flower pots or things in the garage, you know...
Don't touch that.
You know what?
Don't you touch that.
I don't want to throw out anything that's good. No. If it isn't good, I don't care.
Say even flower pots I'm not using, obviously.
But I have to make a decision. Is this a good thing?
It's no. Mother was very angry. It's not a good thing. You shouldn't ever throw anything out. Don't touch that. Little girl, don't touch that.
No, Dr. Klein, that's not what I mean. What I mean is when, say I have 3 flower pots, and they're pretty, but I really haven't used them in a while.
So
but they're good.
Don't touch that.
I just think it's bad to throw good things out.
Where your mother, don't touch that, is ruling your life from another time in your brain. You shouldn't touch that.
But how does she know about these flower pots? They're good,
Honey.
But I just don't use them. That's what my husband says. You know, when was the last time you used them?
It's not about today's flower pots. It's about being a bad girl by touching something you want to throw out and you can't do it. That's why.
But I don't want to throw them out. I want to make a decision what I can do with them.
If you wanted to throw something out, your mother would scream. Right?
Right.
She said, don't touch that. Probably brought up in the Depression and afraid of not having anything, and God only knows why she's screaming.
She didn't like to spend money either.
Okay, whatever her problem was, you now have the problem. You can't touch those files, even though you want to, and you have a plan for it with color-coded things and wanting it neat and wanting to be able to find things in your guest room. And you can't do it because, forget about labels and hoarding, because as soon as you're about to touch it and get rid of it, your mother would have a fit and scream at you as if you're a criminal. Right? Isn't that right? Isn't that how you felt? You shouldn't touch it. You shouldn't. And you want to, but you shouldn't.
But I thought it was because it was her thing. And she didn't want me touching it because it was her thing.
But that generalizes to everything. Don't touch it. If you ever touch it, you're a bad girl and mother hates you. And then you hate yourself if you throw it out. You're the one who told me this. I didn't put that in your head. And rather than hate yourself, you'll leave it there. It's good. You'll rationalize. I could use it. It's the good flower pots, blah, 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 blah. But they're crowding your life. And instead of hating yourself, you just walk away.
Right.
And you never get what you want.
And then it bothers me.
It bothers you because you can't stand the clutter.
It bothers me.
Why don't you take a look at whether or not, for whatever reasons your mother said that, how you took it was that you were a bad girl if you touched something and throw it out. She never threw anything out, right? That was her problem, now it's yours.
See, I don't remember.
Welcome to the club.
I don't remember that she didn't throw anything out, though.
No, but you remembered her screaming at you, don't touch that.
But I thought it was because it was her personal stuff.
That's how you explained it. But what you did was generalize that you should never touch something, even if you plan to do it, but you won't let yourself do it.
That's why I'm very careful about touching anybody's belongings.
Okay, it's not... Look, that's how you explained it to yourself, but what it generalized to is that you can't get rid of the crap in your guest room, because it makes you a bad girl, and mother will hate you.
It just makes me so anxious, Dr. Klein, looking through
you're doing
things.
A bad thing.
And I put a pile here, even with clothes. You know I have a closet full of clothes that I never wear. But I just
think... You
think...
don't have room anymore in the closet.
No, and I think I'm going to wear them at some point. But I just, some of them are
I'm laughing because I do the same thing.
Very good clothes, but I don't want to, I went to Goodwill one time and I brought a bag of clothes.
Wow.
And
were you anxious doing that?
Well, I thought, well, this is a really nice thing to help people, and the clothes were very nice. And I thought, well, gee, somebody would be very happy to wear these clothes. And then I felt good until I saw what they did with them. They took the bag that I was very careful. I washed all the clothes, and I folded them very neatly, and I had them in plastic bags.
They threw them in a pile.
They threw them in a big pile, and they were going to wash them. And I'm thinking a lot of the things that I put in this bag needed to be dry cleaned, and they were all
shouldn't have
dry cleaned
them
already.
And brought them there.
And I'm thinking they're going to be ruined, and there were good things.
And here comes the guilt.
How come I couldn't give them to somebody who I could hand them to?
Tell me something. If you have, do you have a daughter?
Yes.
Would you take all your stuff and stuff it into her closet or her spare room now?
I do. I do. I have a lot of stuff in her closet now.
And if she touches it, would you scream at her and say, don't touch that, leave it there?
No, but you know, I have to tell you, I have 2 children, and both of them throw things out. It's...
How do you feel when they do?
Very anxious.
Because it reminds you of being a bad girl and mother being angry with you.
Some things have tags on them.
It's not about the clothes. It's about you being a bad girl for your kids are throwing things out. How did you raise them? How bad you are. Mother would so disapprove of you. And then you hate yourself for anybody in your family throwing things out. But you're mild and meek about it. You don't yell at them because you wouldn't do to them what your mother did to you.
No.
Look at the problem you got. You know what? You need to touch the anger. Even if mother isn't with us anymore, she probably is not, right?
No.
Okay. She's not going to hear it. But the anger at having to been saddled with all this stuff, and your kids saying, I'm not doing what mommy did, and now you're going to take your stuff and stuff their closets. I said, I'm sorry. Okay, you got a sense of humor. So what you have to do is saying, I'm still obeying my mother, and I hate it.
My son came home and he opened his closet and he said, Mom, what are your clothes doing in my closet? And I said, well, I needed a spot for them because we had that hurricane last year.
Rationalization.
And, you know, the basement was, I have a beautiful cedar closet downstairs.
No. Don't rationalize. Don't even go there. The fact is that you will hate yourself for throwing anything out. Bottom line, and what you need to do is to grab some clothes from that closet. I know, look at that face. Grab the clothes and yell as fast as you can. Shut the heck up! I don't want to live like this anymore! Doesn't that feel good? Or do you think you're a bad sinner? And get mad and throw it out wildly. Bah, bah, bah. You've been hanging on to this anger inside the same way you're hanging on to all the things your mother would scream about you not touching.
I don't feel angry, though.
It's down there, honey. You'd feel anxious if you threw anything out, but you gotta feel some anger and say, look, mother's gone and I'm saddled with her screaming. I can't throw anything out. I am not gonna do this anymore. I'm gonna liberate myself. I'm going to be free. I'm going to have the files the way I want them. I'm not living according to my mother's screams from 50 years ago.
Do you know what I find that I do when I'm trying to do those files?
What?
I redo them because they just are never...
Because you got too many.
The right way. No, but I just want them like color-coded. Yes, I want them perfect.
You can't perfectly have something that has too much in it. You don't need all those papers, do you?
Well, a lot of them are income tax forms.
Don't touch it is operating again. Don't touch it, don't touch it. I want you to walk around the house and say, don't touch it until you get mad. And then when you get mad, toss it in the garbage. I know this sounds crazy, but there ain't no time in the mind.
I even go through this with mail. You know how much mail you get in a day?
Do you throw the envelopes out?
Yes. I get...
Don't touch that.
Wait.
How come you threw the envelopes out?
As soon as the mail comes, as I'm talking, I'm feeling that my eye is twitching.
Because you're in conflict between, I'm suggesting to you the opposite of what your mother demanded you do. Don't touch it.
As soon as the mail comes in, we get magazines, we get advertisements, we get a lot of mail. So I try to separate the mail. I try to pay bills online so I don't get a lot of paper mail. So
But you can't throw it out.
Right, I separate the things that I can, and then I rip up the things that I can, and I try to throw out
How does it feel when you rip them up?
It feels fine, but I just find that, well, okay, now that I have these 3 pieces of mail, because my husband is extremely OCD, so you can imagine that this is a source of conflict in our home. Since he's so OCD, he'd throw you out if you were standing still. You know, that's the way he
Well,
is.
He didn't throw you out yet.
Well,
so
I don't know. But he's just so OCD. And why did you put that there? And why did you put this there? And why do you put this there? So I have 3 pieces of mail that I know I need to pay attention to, and I need a place to put them, but where to put them so it doesn't aggravate him, and where I can find it. And I just become so anxious when the mail comes. Like, what am I going to do with, you know, and then I'm making lists trying to, you know, in folders. Well, I'll put it in a folder and maybe this will work. And maybe...
Okay, you're trying to live up to 2 different people. One says, don't save anything.
And the other one says, throw everything out.
The other one's saying, don't touch anything.
Right.
Don't throw anything out. And this one says, throw it out.
Right.
Get it right. I don't like the piles.
That's why my eye, as you're talking, my eye is twitching.
Well, now your other eye is twitching.
No, just the same one.
Okay, there are 2 eyes, by the way. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, one of them is twitching.
No. There are 2 eyes, the capital I and the little I. You know what a capital I is in the alphabet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's an I that refers to me, who I should be.
Right.
That's a capital I. If I were a perfect girl, I would never touch it. I would never throw anything out. Mommy wouldn't scream. Finally, I'm perfect enough. However, your husband is screaming if you don't throw it out.
Right.
So now my perfect I says, I shouldn't throw it out. I should throw it out, and I shouldn't throw it out. No wonder your eye is twitching. Now, the little I inside is a scared child who is now a grown woman who's being yelled at for the opposite thing that your mother yelled at you for. One says, throw it all out, and the other one says, don't
touch it, throw it out. Don't touch it, throw it out.
No wonder. So both the perfect I has to go in 2 different ways. If you go to the left and you throw it out, you're bad. If you go to the right and you don't throw it out, you're bad again. Now, tell me, how can you throw something out and not throw something out at the same exact time?
You know what I do?
What?
I put it in a pile and I put it in the closet so no one will see it, but I know it's there.
So no one will see you didn't throw it out, and no one will see that you did throw it out.
But I try to organize it and put it in a milk carton and try to...
Mother has more power over you than your husband, because when you're a little child, you totally believe to him you can label OCD, and you can forget about it.
Oh, you can't forget about it.
I'm talking about the I that's the real I that wants some order in your life, some room in your life for the things you want, and wants to give yourself permission to throw something out, not because your husband says, because you want to. Because you want those files the way you want them, and you don't want the clutter.
You know, Dr. Klein, it's so horrible because I'll walk in from work and there'll be something that's on the counter, and he'll say, what are you going to do with this? What, you know, where are we going to put this? And I'm like, what? You know, do I have to make a decision about where can we leave it there?
No, he's OCD. He's got the opposite problem that you have.
Right. So that's why my eye is twitching, and that's why I came here, because I know what you're saying to me about my mother.
Okay, what am I saying? Give it back to me. Come on.
You're saying that my mother told me not to touch things, and I interpreted not to touch things as...
I'm bad if I do.
Right, this, you know, that, and this is how I interpreted that I shouldn't touch her belongings.
Right, and then
but what you're saying to me...
Generalized everything.
What you're saying to me is that she didn't want me to touch anything because she didn't want me to throw anything out.
Right. That's right. And that's the problem you're having now. And your husband is saying, I don't want you saving things. I don't want you saving things. I want a neat house.
Right. But you know, Dr. Klein, my house is really neat. It really isn't, as I know.
Think of your spare room.
That's not so neat.
Think of your files.
They're still not so bad. You know, I don't want to paint a picture.
Is this what you want?
No, but I want to paint a picture that I see on TV and that my husband keeps calling me a hoarder.
Forget about the labels. The labels are just labels. The feeling inside you have. You get distracted when you have this great plan for your files and you don't do what you wanted to do. Right?
Right.
Because there's something in you that says, don't touch it.
No, and I can never get it perfect enough, the file, and I can never get it efficient enough.
Because you can't throw anything out because you're not supposed to touch it. And that rule comes in completely unreasonably in your life. And you have to not live by the extremes, but live what you want to do, not what you shouldn't do.
What I want to do.
Okay, so we're going to talk about that next week. Again, I want you to go home and do a little screaming in frustration when you are anxious, okay? All right. Do a little screaming. Let some of your anger out. I want this. Use the word want, not shouldn't, okay?
But what do I want?
Go home and think about it, and if you really get stuck, give me a call, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay? You trust me?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All righty. Okay. I just want to thank Carol Dorley for playing that wonderful role, and I hope you got something out of that. I know I always do. Carol, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You play that role so well because you're a psychotherapist, right?
Yes, I am.
Where are you?
In Somerville.
In Somerville. Thanks a lot, Carol, for another terrific show. She's a marvelous actress and a wonderful person.
It was fun.
It was fun. It was really fun. And I want to thank you very much for watching and saying hello when I'm bopping around town. And I just want to tell you, if you have an idea for a show, please let me know. And my wonderful cameraman, Kaz Beelan, who's a great guy, has told me that I have to mention the website that he made for me called Dr. Ginny Klein, right? Yes.
.com.
drginnyklein.com. So if you want to know something about where I came from, whatever, go to drginnyklein.com on your computer. And now he was kind enough to set that up for me, so do that. In the meantime, you take really good care of yourself and just keep looking through the looking glass. Bye-bye.
Dr. Ginny Klein would love to hear from you. Email her, ginnyklein@gmail.com, or give her a call at 908-722-2933. If you'd like to see more, feel free, just go to drginnyklein.com.